My book is Ruler of the World by Alex Rutherford, published in 2012, July 3rd. So the book tells of the Mughal Empire around the 1600s, 1700s. The particular ruler of this time period is Akbar the Great, from the 1600s earlier on. He was born to the previous emperor, and now it's been his grandfather was the founder of the empire. So the story really centers around his relationship with his son, who is to succeed the empire, and how his son reacts to his father, and how the future of the empire, the fate of it, is all hanging in the balance. So, this is historical fiction, by the way. The first question I have is, are there any Oedipal dynamics at work here? So, Oedipal dynamics are mostly focusing around Froude, who basically wrote stuff that every child feels a need for his mother to have his mother, but the intimate relationship between his mother and his father makes his son resent his father and desire his mother. So this is odd, strange kind of scenario in this book, because in the book, Akbar marries a wife. The wife's name is Hirabai, but Hirabai resents Akbar. She pulled a knife on him, actually, on their first wedding night. So Akbar, when his son with Hirabai was born, he named her Salim, and Salim is Akbar's son. So Akbar decided that, it was a very particular situation because Hirabai hated him so much. The only reason he didn't have Hirabai executed was because of political reasons, but fearing treachery, he decided to send Hirabai away and keep Salim, and give Salim to his own mother to rear him up. So Salim rarely ever gets to see his mother, and when he does, he's under the view of the guards, because the guards don't trust Hirabai, and, well, with reason, obviously. So as he's growing up, Salim can feel maybe that, Akbar, his father, has stolen his mother away from him, and he has a lot of reason to do that. So when there was a particular behavior of Salim that kind of centers around this, when Salim gets older, he sees Akbar's concubine, like a very beautiful girl named Anarkali. And so he says, he saw his father's fond, complacent gaze as he rested on his prized possession, which is Anarkali. He must have Anarkali. He would have her, says Salim. So Salim gets this weird desire for his father's favorite concubine, which is strange, but it makes sense. According to Froude, what this would mean is Salim wants his father's concubine because he feels that his father stole his own mother away from him. So on to my next question. How can a character's behavior be explained by psychoanalytical concepts? So, as I just said, there are a lot of odd experiences for Salim as he's growing up. His father's a powerful empire, his mother hates his father hates his mother, and his mother wants him to more or less kill his father. So, but to throw that even more complicated, what happened when he was a young child is everyone was telling him that you'd eventually be the emperor. But he felt resentment towards his dad. Initially it was just awe, but his dad seemed disappointed in him, in Salim's eyes. So Salim figured his dad didn't like him. And this grew to a weird relationship with his dad, because he felt like he was always neglected by him. So one day, Salim, because he does want to be emperor, he wants something to do. In his frustration, he went to see a great seer, and the seer told him that you will be emperor one day. So Salim would always be very ambitious. He wanted his father to give him some power, some role, but his father always kept that away from him. So this kind of leads Salim to feel very exasperated. So when he's a lot older, in his 20s, 30s, he actually rises a major rebellion against his own father. And in this, what's very interesting is that he assassinates Akbar, his father, Akbar's best friend. So, the thing about this best friend of his name is Abul Fazl, Akbar's best friend, is he always seemed to steal away the attention. When he was a younger kid, Salim says, I would have liked to have been riding with him, Akbar, but as always, the bulky Abul Fazl was by his side. So he feels like all this attention has been stolen away from him. So, just around the same time, he wrote, if only Abul Fazl wasn't always there, scribbling in those ledgers of his and whispering in Akbar's ear. So, as he grows older, because of this feeling of neglect and resentment, but still awe for his dad, he rises to his own rebellion and kills Abul Fazl. Eventually, of course, it was, the tense situation was diffused. So my next question is, what does the work reveal about patriarchy? So, this is in the feminist category, the others from the psychoanalytical ones. This is an interesting situation because Akbar is not only the patriarch of the royal family, he's the emperor of all of Hindustan, which is present-day India. So, Hamida is Akbar's father, the wife of, Hamida is Akbar's mother, the wife of his father. So, she has a strange situation in all of this. Because Akbar, his word is law. But the woman, his mother and his aunt, wield a lot of influence and power. So in one scenario, Hamida actually comes to Akbar and she reprimands him pretty harshly. And Akbar just can't say anything about it because he's his mother. She's his mother. Alright, so what she says is, we feel imprisoned in this haram of yours. And haram is like a little room, a place for all the women to be. She says, you forget who we are, not just royal women, but Mughal women. In past times we accompanied our warrior husbands, brothers, and sons. We played our part in their plans, as ambassadors, advisors, mediators. We wish you to treat us like adults, with adult minds, not children to be corseted and given trinkets to keep us amused. So, that kind of shows a couple things. Akbar's word is law. He makes this big haram, very impressive, to put all the women in, but in a way, he's kind of imprisoning them there. But it's not so much that he's the only one with all the power. His mother and his aunt come to him, and they just yell at him for a couple minutes, and he can't say anything about it. But at the same time, you can't say that the women have true power in the society, because the society is, pretty sexist. We'll get into that later. But Akbar also wields a lot of power because he gets to choose who of his sons and his grandsons will be his heir. It doesn't necessarily have to be his oldest son in the society. He gets to choose. He might just not pick Salim. And not only that, but he can pick wives for him, for his sons, for his son's sons. At one point, he sent his most trusted commander away. Like, he can do just about whatever he wants as patriarch of the family and as emperor. But there are lines, which Hamida obviously draws very nicely. I'll get into that later, but Hamida wields more power than she shows. So, the next question is, what are the power relationships between men and women? So, you have to really focus on Hamida, Akbar's mother, in this, because Hamida is a complete mediator between this whole family. Every one of her sons, grandsons, they all come to her for advice. And she wields a lot of power, even though she's only a woman, according to that society. No, not me. Okay. But in the end of the day, it's a society where you have tons of concubines, women you can just buy, arranged marriages. So, do women really have power? Not so much. But they are influential. The men's role is to be the caretaker of the family, and Akbar and Salim, they were all the men out there. But the women do all that framework in the society. So, Hamida is put in an interesting situation many times. When Salim went on his little rebellion against his father, she was the reason they came back together. She sits down Salim and says, for the sake of our dynasty, there must be no more posturing and parading of armies. You agree to be reconciled? And she forces not only Salim, her grandson, but Akbar, the empire. She coerces them into coming together again and shows this fabulous ceremony for them to be reunited. It's not just, she has a word in, she makes things happen. And on several times, they'll come to her for advice, and she'll tell them just what to do. So, power-wise, Hamida wields a lot of power, in this whole family. But between all men and all women are kind of shoved behind, right? Even in like the courtroom, the emperor would sit on his throne, and all the subjects would be before him. But all the women would sit in this like secluded room where no one can see, but they would be able to watch what was going on. That kind of shows what goes on in society here. The women do everything behind while the men present themselves, but they're not without power in the society. So it's definitely very interesting. As for the final question, I definitely say that using psychoanalytical analysis is a lot better for this relationship, for this story, because it surrounds the relationship of Salim, the son, and Akbar, the father, and how the two are constantly resenting each other, but in awe of each other. They love each other, but they hate each other. So it's easy to use psychoanalytical questions to see what went wrong with Salim. Why does he not like his father so much? And the same, why don't Salim's sons like Salim? And the whole relationship in the society.